This is Chapter 2, Module 3, Organic Molecules. The learning objectives of this module are 1. Describe the body's major organic compounds and their functions. 2. Define enzymes and their role in cellular metabolism. And 3. Describe ATP and high-energy compounds. Organic molecules are molecules that contain hydrogen, carbon, and usually oxygen as their main molecules. There are 4 different organic molecules: carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and nucleic acids. Carbohydrates are the preferred source of energy for most of the tissues in the body, including the nervous system and the heart. Carbohydrates from the diet are converted into glucose, which can either be immediately used as a source of energy or stored for future use. The body cannot digest all carbohydrates in the diet. Indigestible carbohydrates, also known as fiber, travel through the intestines and help maintain proper digestive health. Carbohydrate molecules contain carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen in a 1:2:1 ratio. The smallest carbohydrate is called a monosaccharide or simple sugar. A monosaccharide contains 3 to 7 carbons. Examples of monosaccharides are glucose, fructose, and galactose. The glucose molecules that we will study have 6 carbons that form a hexagon ring. They should be easily recognizable by their hexagon shape. Glucose in this form also has 12 hydrogen atoms and 6 oxygen atoms. A disaccharide contains 2 simple sugars condensed by dehydration synthesis. Dehydration synthesis links a glucose molecule with a fructose molecule to form a sucrose molecule, which is a disaccharide. A polysaccharide is a molecule with many monosaccharides condensed by dehydration synthesis. Polysaccharides include glycogen, starch, and cellulose. Glycogen is a molecule that is made up of several to hundreds of glucose molecules linked together. In this form, glycogen is a storage molecule for glucose. When the cells need glucose to create energy, glycogen will get broken down into individual glucose molecules. When your body tissues are inactive, the available glucose molecules will be bound in long chains as glycogen molecules and stored in the liver and skeletal muscles. Lipids, another group of organic molecules, are also known as fats, and they play multiple roles in the body. Fats are broken down in the digestive tract to form individual fatty acids and cholesterol molecules. Fatty acids and cholesterol are key components to the membranes that surround all cells. Cholesterol can also be used to make many other compounds in the body, such as steroid hormones. Finally, fatty acids represent an important source of energy, particularly for the purposes of long-term storage. Fatty acids are long chains of carbon and hydrogen with a functional group called a carboxyl group, or COOH, at one end. Fatty acids may be saturated or unsaturated. Saturated fats have no double bonds between the carbons, so it is saturated with hydrogen. Saturated fatty acids are fats that cannot break down in the body and therefore collect in places in the body and get stored. As saturated fatty acids collect within the body, it wreaks havoc and causes detrimental health issues. On the other hand, unsaturated fats contain 1 or more double covalent bonds between their carbons. Where double bonds are formed, hydrogen atoms are eliminated. Examples of unsaturated fats are found in canola oil, sardines, kidney beans, and shrimp. A monounsaturated bond contains 1 double bond, whereas a polyunsaturated bond contains 2 or more double bonds. Fatty acids are the monomers found in glycerides. Glycerides are fatty acids attached to a glycerol molecule. Think of the glycerol molecule as the head and the fatty acid as a tail. A monoglyceride is a molecule with a glycerol head and 1 fatty acid tail. A diglyceride has a glycerol head and 2 fatty acid tails. A triglyceride is a molecule with a glycerol head and 3 fatty acid tails. Triglycerides have 3 important functions. They act as an energy source for the body, they provide insulation for the body, and they protect important organs inside the body. Other types of lipids include eicosanoids, steroids, phospholipids, and glycolipids. Eicosanoids are lipids that include leukotrienes and prostaglandins. Leukotrienes are active in the immune system, and prostaglandins have a wide variety of important effects in the body. Steroids are lipids that contain 4 rings of carbon and hydrogen. Steroids are classified by the functional groups that are attached to the four rings. One type of steroid, called cholesterol, is a component of the cell membrane. Other types of steroids are the estrogens and testosterone that are the sex hormones. Corticosteroids and calcitriol are other types of steroids that regulate metabolism. And finally, bile salts are derived from steroids and help to break down digested fats. Phospholipids and glycolipids are molecules of diglycerides attached to either a phosphate group or a sugar. If the diglyceride is attached to a phosphate group, the molecule is called a phospholipid. If the diglyceride is attached to a sugar or glycogen, the molecule is called a glycolipid. Generally, both phospholipids and glycolipids both have heads that are hydrophilic or water-loving and tails that are hydrophobic or water-fearing. In large numbers, phospholipids and glycolipids form myceles, with the hydrophilic heads facing the water molecules, while the hydrophobic tails face the inside of each droplet. This characteristic makes both the phospholipid and the glycolipid very important components of the cell membrane. Another organic molecule we will study are the proteins. Proteins are large and fairly complex molecules that are responsible for doing most of the work that occurs in cells. They also are needed to maintain the structure of cells and are critical for the function and regulation of all the body's tissues. Ultimately, proteins are the most abundant, important organic molecule in the body. They contain the basic elements carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. They are the basic building blocks of the body, using 20 amino acids to create the hundreds of thousands of different proteins in the body. Proteins have 7 major functions in your body. Number 1, support. Structural proteins make up the components of all the structures in the body. Number 2, movement. Some proteins are contractile proteins that help to move cells throughout the body. Number 3, transport. Some proteins are transport or carrier proteins that help to move things across the cell membrane to bring them in or out of the cell. Number 4, buffering. Some proteins help to regulate the pH in body tissues. Number 5, metabolic regulation. Many proteins are enzymes that activate chemical reactions in the body. Number 6, coordination and control. Some proteins are hormones that activate long-term changes in the body. And number 7, defense. Some proteins are antibodies that help defend the body against pathogens and toxins. The protein molecule is a long chain of amino acids. Amino acids contain 5 different components. At the center of the protein is a central carbon atom that has 4 components attached to it that include a hydrogen atom, an amino group, or NH2, a carboxyl group, or COOH, and a variable side chain, or R group. These amino acids link together through dehydration synthesis, where the amino group of one amino acid and the carboxyl group of another amino acid become a peptide bond and link the amino acids together. The resulting molecule is called a peptide. 2 amino acids linked together are called a dipeptide. More than 2 amino acids linked together is called a polypeptide. A polypeptide with over 100 amino acids is referred to as a protein. Proteins have 4 basic shapes: the primary structure, the secondary structure, the tertiary structure, and the quaternary structure. The primary shape or structure of a protein is a sequence of amino acids linked together in a row. The secondary structure is primarily the result of hydrogen bonding along the length of that primary protein, holding the amino acids together in a simple spiral known as an alpha helix, or as a flattened arrangement known as a pleated sheet. The tertiary structure is when the secondary structure folds into a unique shape. The tertiary structure is basically the coiling and folding of the secondary polypeptide structure. The quaternary structure is the final protein shape, where several tertiary structures are held together to form a large protein. The quaternary structure develops when several polypeptide subunits interact to form a larger molecule. A single hemoglobin molecule contains 4 globular subunits. Hemoglobin is an example of the quaternary structure of protein. Enzymes are important proteins that are catalysts of chemical reactions in the body. They lower the activation energy of a chemical reaction to reduce the amount of energy needed for the chemical reaction to occur. Enzymes are not changed or used up in the reaction and can be used repeatedly to catalyze over and over again. Chemicals or substrates bind to the active sites of the enzyme and are held together as the enzyme helps to facilitate a reaction between them. The substrate binding alters the shape of the enzyme, and this change promotes the formation of a new product between the substrates. The new product then detaches from the enzyme, and the entire process can then be repeated. The enzymes have a saturation limit, however. They can only catalyze at a certain rate, as they can only accept substrates to make one new product at a time. They are also very specific. Each enzyme will only work on limited types of substrates. And enzymes are regulated by other cellular chemicals. Cofactors, usually ions, and coenzymes, usually vitamins, are substances that must bind to the enzyme before the substrates can bind. Temperature and pH both have an effect on how well the enzymes will perform. At extremes, the effectiveness of the enzyme will decrease. Denaturation is when the protein loses its shape and function due to heat or pH changes. Other proteins can be categorized as glycoproteins and proteoglycans. Glycoproteins and proteoglycans are molecules that contain both proteins and sugars. You can kind of tell that from their names. Glyco means glycogen or complex sugar, and protein, of course, means protein. Glycoproteins contain large proteins and small sugars. Proteoglycans are large polysaccharides and polypeptides that help to make certain body fluids are more viscous or thicker. Chapter 2, Module 3, Organic Molecules, will be continued on a second video.